things may look and sound a little different, and that's because they are. I have my equipment set up in a new little configuration because we're going to be doing a big lanyard and I'm going to need a lot of space for my hands to work in. So I'm zoomed in really close, but it's still kind of far away because I need to show you everything in the frame. Today we're going to be making the American flag lanyard. This is not my original design, and I will put the video that I found this design from in the description, so you can check that out too if you want. And this is going to be a really big and advanced lanyard, so if you're not good at big projects or you don't think you have enough GIMP, then go ahead and try some other things and then come back to this when you're ready. Alright, so let's get started with the materials needed. To start off, you're going to need 6 blue pieces. This is royal blue, and each of these are 2 feet long. You're also going to need 6 white pieces that are each 4 feet long, 7 red pieces that are also 4 feet long, and finally 1 ultra long clear piece that is 21 feet long. This is going to be a big boy. This is a lot of string for just one lanyard, but trust me, you need this much. And if you're someone who makes thicker or looser stitches, you might want to add an extra foot or extra half foot to each length of each string just to be safe, because always you'd rather have too much than not enough. So yeah, let's get started. Starting this lanyard is as easy as it gets. We're just doing a square stitch, and you're going to do that with your super long clear string and 1 of your red strings here. You're going to find the centers of both of your 2 strings, red and clear, and you're going to put the red over the clear like this. So you should have your clear string as the vertical and your red string as the horizontal. So you're going to take the top string that is clear, bring it down and keep it on the right. Take your bottom clear string on the left and bring it up. And we're completing this just like any other square stitch. Take your left string, bring it over and under to the left, and keep it at the top. Take your right string, bring it over and under to the left, staying at the bottom, and you can pull that together. We're going to be stretching this clear piece out as much as we can because we need it for 13 square stitches. So this is going to be a super long ball. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see things a little better. And we're going to be loosening up this clear string and adding whites and reds and whites and reds until we get 13 in a row. We have this red here that we started with because this is the dead center of the flag. So you're going to loosen up both loops. And since we have a red, we're putting 2 white. I like to start on the left, but it really doesn't matter that much. As long as you keep alternating from left to right, you should be good. I'm going to bring it under both the loop and the strand. Pull the ends and yank until you reach the center like that. And of course, you've seen us add extra strings in here before. So take your bottom string, bring it over and under through the top loop on the left. Take your top string here, bring it over and under on this bottom loop to the right. And make sure you're not going under this long piece right here. That loop stays underneath the red and white stripes, okay? So now that we have a white on the left, we're going to do the same thing on the right. It's okay to pull this together and tighten it just to make sure it keeps its shape, but you still got to loosen it up, okay? So that's what I like to do. Tighten it up and then loosen it up for the next string. Tighten it up, loosen it up for the next string. This is going to be a little bit harder for me as a lefty. I'm going to take my string, and you can always turn this upside down, but the string, the clear string, is really like tangled, and I don't want to mess it up anymore. Don't want to knock my tripod over either. Bring it under both the strand and the loop. Hold the ends together and pull until you reach the middle. Going to start at the bottom. This time, bring it over the loop, over the strand, and under the loop, staying on the right. We're going to do the same thing on the left. Wrap the bottom string, bring it over and under, upwards, and stay on the left. And don't go under here, go under here. And you can pull this together, and you see that you have the two whites on the outside and the red in the middle. That means you're putting red on the outsides again. And make sure you do left, right, left, right. I think I might have said that before. So the clear string doesn't get too uneven. I'm actually going to start on the right first, because that's harder for me. Let's get the harder part out the way. And you can hold this down. I have another red here. Hold the ends and pull till you get to the center. I'm going to take my top string, I'm going to bring it down, over and under to the right. Some length, whatever. I'm going to take my bottom red string, bring it over and under to the left. And do not go under this long piece here, go under this one. Get that through. I'm going to pull that together just a little. Then loosen up the loop. I'm going to take another red. This is the easy part, the easy side for me. Hold the ends together and pull until you reach the center of it. I'm gonna move this over to the right a little. Use my nail so you can see. Take your bottom string, bring it over and under, upwards, and stay on the left. Take your top string, bring it over and under, downwards, staying to the right. Just like this. And you're going to keep doing this left and right until you have all your red and white strings in there. I've now got my 13 by 1 wall ready, and this is what it looks like. Pretty cool, pretty long. It's pretty satisfying to hold all these strings. And just like any other starting stitch, it's going to be very loose and wonky, but once you do the stitch on top of it, it all evens out. And you're going to do 30 stitches on top of this starting stitch, okay? And I'll show you the first and second one. Just follow along just like an average wall stitch. It's a little too close. Let me zoom out for you. And I don't really mind that this piece is kind of twisted, because when you pull it together, you can easily untwist it. We have a lot of space for that here. But these I will fix, because these have way less. And if you see that your starting stitch is loosening up a little, put your thumbs inside the loops like this and pull it. It's only too loose at the ends, I've noticed. And you can go ahead and pull that together. This looks like a chaotic mess, but when you pull it together, it's satisfying, for me anyway. And there's no more mistake. And the string might want to fight against you when you tighten it. You don't need to make it super tight if you don't want to, just tight enough. I think this is about good enough for me. And as you can see, it's a little less wiggly, but still flexible. So I just did my first stitch here. You can see it's a little bit more straight than the starting stitch, of course, like always. Here's what your starting stitch is going to look like. And I'm going to do one more stitch for you on camera, and then I'm going to get to the 30 stitches off camera and come back. You can see everything a little bit clearer here now. And I'm going to hold it this way so that it fits into the frame of the camera better. And actually, I think I'll zoom in a little bit here too. I'll start on the left. Once again, we're just gonna pull that tight. And this is twisting, so I'm gonna fix that. There you go. So you have 2 stitches here and 28 more to go. And I'll see you when I get there. I'm now back with the lanyard and I have 30 stitches and 31 if you're gonna include your starting stitch in that. I'll count these with the white loops. So 1 down here, and that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, and 31 here on the left of the stitch. So now we're going to be adding the blue gimp. I think I want this side to be the top of my lanyard. So you're going to put the blue gimp here, and you're going to keep your red and white strings here, and you're going to loop 6 of these. So do a stitch, but only loop 3 red and 3 white. That's 3, we're halfway done with that. And that's 6. So the rest, you're going to add your blue strings in here, and you're going to not mess with these red and white strings here until you're done with the blue, adding that in there. So we're going to take 1 of your 7 blue strings. I think I might have said 6 in the intro, and I probably corrected that in annotation. So it's all good. You should have 7 blue pieces. So you're going to take 1, and I see that this isn't mandatory, but this is something I like to do. When I have a lanyard, you see I have this flat piece. It's flat on this side and more round on this side, and that goes for all the strings when you bring them across. And the curved side is facing the top because we haven't looped these in here yet. And we're not going to be looping these anymore. But you're going to keep them there because we do need them for a little bit longer. So because the flat side is facing up, I'm going to place these in so that the same happens when I loop these over. So I'm going to start with the curved end upwards first, because when you flip it over to complete the stitch, it flops on its opposite side. Reach the center, take the bottom string, bring it over and under, keeping it to the left, or excuse me, to the right, because you have 2 loops here, and you can't have 2 strands next to each other either. So to complete that, I'm going to take the top string, bring it over and under to the left. So that's 1. You're going to do the same thing until you reach the end. And also, if you're having trouble keeping this in order, like keeping these strings together and tight, you can use tape like this. Doesn't really matter what kind, but that's the kind of tape that I used when I made this lanyard for the first time months ago. but I don't think I need it anymore right now. You're going to take your second blue, bring it under there, hold it down, hold the ends together to get to the center. Take the top string, bring it over and under, downwards, and keep it to the left. Over and under, upwards, and keep that to the right. So 5 more to go. Same thing here. I broke a nail, so it's harder to hold this down. I think this was one of my longest nails too, if not the longest. It's terrible. It will grow back. Makes it harder to see because I have to use my whole thumb to hold it down now. Could have done it on the left side where I still have a nail, but might as well just do it like this for now anyway. I've now zoomed in a little more so you can actually see what I'm doing now, because like I said, my whole thumb is being used to hold everything down now. I'll make this a little easier for you to see. Bring that through, hold it down, hold the ends together, and pull so you get to the center of that blue string. Take your top string, bring it over and under the clear loop. You're going to keep that to the left. Take that bottom string, bring it over and under, and keep that to the right. Same thing again. You can see this is starting to get kind of loose, so you can just pull this clear string to tighten it up. Kind of lost the other end of this string here. And last one. And you can let this go a little. You can let a little space exist in between here. last one. And as soon as you see your lanyard like this and everything's secure and where it needs to be, you can pull these strings together, but do not tighten it all the way, okay? Still see the strings are a little bit loose, and you can tighten this up just to loosen it again if you just need to see everything tightened up together so you know that nothing's crossing each other as well. This can just stand up on its own. Look, I'm not even touching it. Look at that. Not doing nothing to it. It's just standing up on its own like that. Pretty cool, right? Okay, so now that you have this, we're finally going to work with these bottom red and white strands, okay? Because we're going to be putting them through each spot in the middle of each square stitch. Each blue square stitch, that is. So I'm going to loosen this up so that it's easier to get in there, but not too much to the point where I can't see what I'm doing anymore, and you guys can't see either. I'm going to loosen them up just slightly. You can see we have 7 square stitches for 7 blue pieces of GIMP. So that's 1 spot in there, 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 and 1 spot in there. So it should be to the left of this bottom loop and to the right of this top loop. It should be sandwiched in between them. So I'm going to move these blue strands here in the front. Not gonna be too reckless with this. I'm gonna take this red here, and you can turn it either this way or this way. It doesn't really matter. I'm just gonna turn it this way because this is the direction that the blue strings are in. But it doesn't really matter. You can widen this up, and you don't want to go in between the white and the blue. You're only going in between the blue stitches and not around them. So I've turned it into the right, so it's going to face this way. And I'm going to do the same thing here, but I think I'm going to turn these this way because it's on the opposite side and I want to make it even. And you want to enter on the opposite side of the stitch here, opposite side of the center of that blue piece. So that's 1, and you're not putting any strings in here. You're only putting them in between, inside the middle gap of the blue stitches. So now we're going to do the same thing with the white. Open that blue stitch up. Bring it in this way. And this may be far away from your string counterpart. Like you can see the stitch over here, but the other white I need to put in there is all the way over here. But that's okay, because this stitch with the blue is obviously loose, so things are prone to moving around. back to red again. I'm going to move these out the way so you can see a little better. Also realizing that this video is going to take a while to render when I upload it to YouTube. And you can put these blue strands down once you put the strings, the red and white strings through them, okay? That's one. Try my best to stay in the frame while also being able to look at what I'm doing. And this is getting loose, so obviously you can pull your clear string again to put everything back in order a little. And last one. Sorry if I keep going out of frame. You're going to pull all the strings that go through the blue strings. You're going to pull those upwards. You don't want to yank too hard because you don't want to break any strings. And you're going to tighten this stitch with the blue strings. This is going to look really wonky and messed up, but that's okay. Maybe I should zoom out a little so I can stay in frame while still moving around easily. Okay, so this part is pretty tight, and it's okay if this one isn't. It's okay if you have a gap like this, because you can pull the strings 2 at a time or 1 at a time, whatever you want. I recommend 2 initially, so that you don't yank one too tight and it breaks. So I've had that happen to me on another lanyard that I did, that I actually showed you in one of my combos videos. And these strings might be kind of loose. If you yank them, make sure you yank them so that the ends are about the same length. Now that things are a little neater, you can pull the red and white strings 1 at a time if you want. But make sure they're facing one side or another. The flat side should be facing either left or right. This may take some time to maneuver and get it just the way you want it as well. So be mindful of that. You're not going to get this stitch to look perfect, so don't worry too much about that. Like all starting stitches, once you do the stitch right on top of it, it starts to become more organized and square out. So that's what we're going to do. Push this down as much as you can, but this can come back up. And you can push it down even better next time. So we're going to do a stitch. You're going to take the strings that are fed through the blue and you're going to move them out the way. And you're going to do another wall stitch right on top of all of this. This is going to suck right now, but it'll be worth it later. Move this out the way so I can get this clear string. Move these out the way, just moving these back and forth. Now here's the messy part. So you can push this down one last time, pull these strings more together if you'd like. This is going to be a little messy. So you're going to take your blue string. Let me get this white string back in there. You're going to take your first blue string down here at the bottom. Gonna bring it over and under to the left, and it's going to be right next to that white string. There's no strings from over here that are supposed to be going in between these two. And you're going to take its matching string, and you're going to move these strings over to the left and bring it over and under. Bring this string over and under. And now, without moving any of your red or white strings, you're going to take your next blue, bring it over and under, and stay on the left. You're going to take these two white strings and bring them over to the left, and take your top blue string, bring that over and under right next to it, basically caging it in. You're going to take your bottom, bring it over and under without moving any other colors. Then you're going to take the red strings, bring them to the left, and take your corresponding blue string, bring that over and under. And do this again. Top string, bring it over and under, bring your white strings over to the left so they're out the way. It's this one. You're going to take your back string, your top string, bring that over and under. You're going to take your bottom string, over and under. Move your red strings back so they're out the way. Take your corresponding string, bring that over and under, downwards. Only 2 more times, and that's it for this stitch. Bring it over and under, making sure it's not twisted, that is. Bring the white strands back. Take your corresponding blue string from back here, bring that over and under. My hand is blocking the light, I apologize, but I gotta really get in there. Last one. Take your blue string, bring it over and under. It'll look a little bit more messy on the end, so be mindful of that. Move your final red strings to the left. And take your top string, bring it over and under, down to the right. Now you can take these strings and move them up and pull this stitch together. You can see this next stitch looks a little bit more organized than the previous. And now it's going to be a little easier to see what you're doing and which correct strands to grab. You can still see there's some space in there, some slack if you will, and you can pull on these tassel-y-esque strings to kind of tug that out. That's why it's so important to have your strings that come out here facing sideways so that it doesn't make the blue strings, the blue part of the lanyard, too thick, because it's already thickening it just slightly by adding those strings to begin with. You don't want them to push out way too far, because that's when it gets really messy and uncomfortable to work with. You can see it's much closer to the red and white part of the lanyard, and that's exactly what you want. And another tip, I think it's helpful if your strings are kind of right next to each other and slightly overlapping so that it's more thin of a block in the middle. And you're gonna keep making stitches until you have 10 with the blue. So you see our first one here where we added the blue gimp, and the one that we just did now, so that's 2. I've got 8 more to go. So this is the lanyard. I've got 10 stitches with the blue gimp here, and if you've got these 10 stitches too, then congratulations, you have completed the most difficult and most annoying part of this lanyard. And now things are going to get way easier from here on out. What you're going to do first is you're going to cut all of these red and white strings that are sticking out of the blue gimp. And you can use scissors, you can use a cuticle trimmer, like as in the video that I've seen that I'm linking in the description of this video. But I'm just going to use the soldering kit cutters because they work almost identical to this. And you want to cut as close down to the stitch as you possibly can, but make sure you don't clip the top of these blue strings here. So that's 1. Or 2 here, technically. I'm not even going to go slow. There you go. And in the video I saw, he cut them a little bit less close to the stitch, but either way, these are now gone, and you're never going to have to deal with them ever again. So you take these, and I can toss these out now, and so can you. And this is still sticking out just a little bit, and even if it is sticking out a little more, that's okay, because we're going to do a stitch right on top of this. And zoom out so you can see a little better. It's going to be smooth sailing from here on out. When you do this stitch, these little red and white little stumps, little nubs, will not be visible anymore. The stitch will completely cover them up. you can pull that together. As you can see, those little nubs in there are completely gone now. You can still see it barely peeking out there, but it is gone. So now your lanyard should look something like this. And as you can see, we have, including the stitch where we added the blue gimp, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 stitches. And you have two options here. You can either go until you have 20 stitches with the blue gimp, or you can do like me, because I think it looks a little better like this. You can go all the way until you have 26 stitches with the blue gimp. So yeah, I'm gonna do 26. You can do 20 or whatever length you want, whatever you think will look best. And I'll come back to you when it's finished. Okay, so my string ran out at 24 stitches, and I wanted to do 26 because I normally do, but I've also noticed this lanyard is a lot looser than my other American flag lanyard that I did months ago, so that's why this looks more squared instead of more rectangular. But still beautiful nonetheless. So ready to finish, and you can either do a finishing stitch, which obviously I can't unless I want to use this stitch to do that, or you can super glue it like me. And that's, in my opinion, the best way to do it, and it's the most satisfying too. I'm gonna give this a little bit of tightening one last time, and on we go with the glue. And it's going to dry for 15 minutes, okay? And put the strings under it so it doesn't actually touch whatever surface it's laying. Alright, so the glue is now dry. Move this out of the way, and I'm going to cut all these ends off. And I'll show you it, because why not? I try to cut as close to the stitch as possible so that it really looks like a flag with no like loose ends or nothing like that. Another thing you could try, however, is starting the lanyard from up here, and then at the end you can do like some butterfly stitches or anything you want, really. Some single square stitches that are all separate from each other. Clover stitches, little braids with each string, whatever you want. And there's some more ends that you can throw out, obviously. And there you go. There's the American flag lanyard for you. If you want to include the stars, you can take little pieces of your white gimp, cut it up, and like glue it on here on the front and back if you want. Or you could just take paint or something like that and like paint little stars if you want. You could do all kinds of stuff like that. And I heard someone actually made this lanyard with silver gimp here for the pole for the flag. So there's lots of different things that you can try. But yeah, I'm happy with this. I hope your lanyard turns out good if you try it. And that's it for this video, and I'll see you in the next one.